Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And for Ichor Fall 2018, yes, we're still doing it, we're doing excerpts from a room at Cedarspring. So it's the day after Halloween, at least as of this posting.
Did you have fun trick-or-treating?
Did you have fun putting out candy?
Yeah, I give out full chocolate bars. All kids are happy.
Damn, those quantum
Wait, but he's evil.
How many razor blades are in those bars?
Wow. That's dark. That's not evil, that's dark.
But yeah, that was like... Yeah. But yeah, so, it was a good haul this year. Anyway, not even pretend like...
Didn't you like watching...
E.T. the Extraterrestrial by Steven Spielberg.
And...
Halloween by John Carpenter.
Right?
But yeah, so we're back for Ichor Fall after 3 weeks of Dark Night. Of a Dark Night.
So dark.
So dark. No, wait, it's not the DC stuff. It's actually like YTV's Dark Night. By the way, go check out YTV's Dark Night video recordings on YouTube. They're actually really fun. And a blast from the past.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's not
At
what we're
least
here
if you're Canadian.
Well, yeah.
Then maybe.
Yeah, you might even remember it, like, from back in the day. We actually had... Again, another side off. We actually had somebody... we had somebody from... the author of the Fairfolk stories.
Dimphna Wolf.
She actually commented on our episode of Extra Ketchup, and like, oh man, I remember Freaky Stories. I used to I loved that show, and it was I basically had a conversation. Well, if you like that, like we're also going to be doing a dark, like a segment of Dark Night in October.
Nice.
And she was like, yeah, looking forward to that. So, yay.
Indeed.
Yay. First off, an author who listens to the show and is now a subscriber of the show, and also a fellow Canadian who remembers nostalgic 90s horror.
Yo.
But anyway, we're leaving Canadian stuff and going back to Americana with Ichor Falls.
Yes.
So we'll do the rundown for excerpts from a room at Cedar Springs. The setup of it is basically this is a transcript of a documentary by a West Virginia filmmaker, and they're documenting this, like the strange circumstances surrounding this abandoned or like kind of like just empty McMansion townhouse like gated community site that was built like 2 years ago, and it's been like no one's moved in since basically. And goes like they talk about it, how it was built. Basically, this Elysium group moved into Ichor Falls in the 80s, bought most of the town, demolished parts of the town, and then they were, by law, not allowed to bulldoze some of it because of historical significance. So they just built around it and made these gaudy construction, like sites and stuff like that. So the town's kind of like this town that has a deep-seated history, and kind of bloody past. Now has this contrast of this faux, like, rustic look.
Yeah. Instead of embracing the history of Ichor Falls, they
ignored it, swept it under the rug, bulldozed down parts of it. So, and the biggest example of that is Cedar Spring, which is a gated community they built right next to the falls, which was going to be made for like those people in the big cities that want to get away from that lifestyle and live a nice rustic lifestyle, but not like.
And don't have to worry about the bullshit of a rustic lifestyle.
Exactly, like have the aesthetic without the baggage.
Yeah.
Of being old. So they basically made this like fabricated, authentic, like this fake facade of like rustic, outdoorsy appeal. And yeah, 2 years after, even after 2 years after it was finished construction, the longest anybody stayed in it was 4 months. So the guy is able to get a hold of a architect who built it or who worked on it, and asks him why he thought it failed. And he's like, I honestly it shouldn't have failed. Like every other one we've done like every other project I've been part of that's done something similar to this, they've never failed. There's something, but it's just because of like how fake it was, or how fake it was, or how much of a facade it was trying to build on, that it conflicted with the townsfolk in the town. Like nobody wanted to like move into it.
Yeah.
And then we get a interview from somebody who actually lived there and actually broke his lease to move out 3 months after he was finished, or after he moved in. And he says he basically goes into how like the place didn't feel like home. Like you have to feel like you're living in a home, and like you feel like an intruder while living in Cedar Springs. It felt very isolated, very alien. And it wasn't just him; it was the other tenants that were there. They'd actually huddle, like meet together, and like be near each other, just to be near each other every night, because they didn't want to be. They felt so isolated and alone while they were there. Even when they were actually when they went to Ichor Falls itself, and like the town's haunted and stuff like that, and he's seen his like a share of like weird shit in the town, but that was more comforting than the absence of anything that he felt in his townhouse, like his gated community area.
Yeah. Like
to the point
all
where
the spooks that he sees in town, none of them are there at all.
Yeah, like it's almost like the weird, like ghosty stuff, like just it like keeps away from that place. But it also isn't great for people because you feel so isolated and stuff. You start cutting yourself just to feel something. Like you start losing your emotions. You don't want to cry. You don't want to laugh. And it's why since he entered this like hollow depression kind of state, why he lived there. And once he got out, he was fine. Like, he got better. But he's never been able to, like, forget about that place.
Yeah.
And then he kind of goes on a little philosophical zinger at the end. It's like, Ichor Fall, like, they say ghosts, like, haunt old places. Can a brand new place, a fake brand new place, be haunted by its lack of history? Can a place be haunted by absence? And that's where this kind of story ends. Or at least where the transcript kind of ends of this documentary. So yeah, we'll go into Everyone Expects the Grammar Inquisition at this point. So, the New Elysium Group, since its acquisition in 1980s, has invested a lot in a town comeback. But instead of respectful merging of Ichor Falls history with new planned future, New Elysium bulldozed the old, or when required by West Virginia law, simply built around it. Hang on a second, sorry. So that was all one sentence.
Yep.
Although it kind of read like when I read it the first time, like I doubled back and checked it, like there were no periods. But it read fine to me still. Like, it read kind of okay.
You didn't gas yourself out on it?
Yeah. I think it's because of, like that semicolon does help to break a part of it. But, yeah, there's like a handful, there's like two or three commas in that sentence and a semicolon. So it is a bit of a run-on sentence, but it didn't feel like a run-on sentence like we usually have on the show. So this is more or less like kind of like a, does it work or does it not?
Once again, you're the first person in the nitpick nook.
Yeah.
It's not really ours anymore, is it?
I mean,
do you want
squatters' rights, man. Anyway. And actually something that's a part of this, but like I'm not going to, because I don't want to reread this quote again for when we go to actual thoughts. I feel like if there's any shady corporate supernatural enterprise in this town, the Elysium Group is probably behind it. Like,
they sound like a shady group.
Yeah, like between like the mining company and like all the other weird stuff like we've done like tackled in the show with the stories that have to do with like something like corporate or something weird. Like the Elysium Group sounds like a fucking evil corporation.
Yeah.
The New Elysium Group.
Yep.
We're here for a better future while we bulldoze the past.
It's kind of a dick move.
Yeah. And then the next one. Now this is, I will continue this. This is,
The Tale of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yes.
okay. So this one, this is my. So I had a
Okay,
problem
just
with it.
over.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I heard it. I ignored it.
I heard it. It just wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So this is with regards to the interviews in the story. So they have like the one guy's name, Michael Hayes, and then they have that, and then they
Italicized.
well, there's a colon, and then it goes into like his dialogue or his answers and like whatnot. The problem here is that I kind of feel like this would have benefited from a proper transcript kind of style, where like it's Michael Hayes, his dialogue, the interviewer, his dialogue, Michael Hayes, his dialogue, interviewer, his dialogue kind of thing. They don't really do that. They do Michael Hayes at the beginning, they get so you know who's talking, but then the only thing they do to differentiate Michael Hayes from the interviewer is they break up the paragraph to a separate paragraph and don't make it italicized, which on the website doesn't work.
They quotation it.
They do quotations for Michael Hayes. Mm-hmm. I will say that. But as I was reading it, I was slightly confused, or at least slightly jarring, like as to who was talking at times. Mm-hmm. Now, the published version of the story in the Visitor's Guide does have a lot stronger differentiating method, because they actually bold the conversation from the interviewer. So
don't they title everything that the other dude says as well?
Yeah, they say MH.
Yeah, like they
use
initial.
Like, yeah, exactly. They do kind of proper transcription kind of stuff.
They get rid of those evil italics.
Yeah,
and also the quotes essentially from the interviewer aren't in quotes; they're just italicized on the
yeah,
website.
because they're just like his like.
I did not notice at all that they were italicized on the thing. Mm-hmm. Until this morning.
Like, I checked told me. Yeah, I checked because I usually do read these in for my first round of reading. I usually do Google Doc, and then I will go back to see if there's any formatting that I wiped, because I like to make a nice clean version of it. Mm. And sometimes that happens when I'm like resetting the content onto a Google Doc. But yeah, when I reread it on the website itself, it was a little bit better, but not by much, because again, that italicizedness does not work very well.
No.
Especially on a black background with a white text.
That's not the problem. It's the type of font they choose. Yeah. Some fonts get like nearly a 45-degree lean on them, but this one's just like, beep, just 2 degrees.
It's like 95 degree.
It's like 2 degrees. The higher the number, the more of the...
I mean, instead of like being like, well, whatever, yeah, 2 degrees, yes. Yes.
A 2 degree lean.
90 degrees would be 90 degrees would be that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. 0, 2 degrees. Sorry, I'm stupid.
Fact, moving on.
Yeah. So
we all are, though, honestly.
Yeah. And then my next thing is actually now this is a conversation, but I'm going to nitpick it anyway.
I wonder if it's the exact same one that I put a note on and wrote down that exact thing.
Okay. The mist in Ichor Falls is a draw for the area, but you've got 4,000 houses probably need a serious overhaul. So it needs to be, but you've got 4,000 houses in need of, or probably in need of, a serious overhaul.
Probably needing a serious?
Probably needing a serious overhaul. That would have been better, too.
Or that need.
Yeah, in need of, needing, that need, it just needs an extra, word or two, or letter or two. And that's my grammar inquisitions. Mikey, these stands for you.
It does.
I have none.
Gamer in yellow. The yellow stands for
awesome.
Yellow.
Yellow stands for the best color. I got a couple. First one being pretty early on, where a paragraph... Okay, I have a question, actually.
Yeah.
If you put a dash in a sentence, does that technically break it into a second sentence?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it technically breaks the sentence up.
And using a semicolon technically breaks it?
Yeah.
Alright. Well, it kind of seemed like this entire paragraph was one sentence because at one point it has a dash, at one point it has a semicolon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, either way, the whole thing just kind of felt weird, and I felt like it should have been rewritten a little bit.
Okay.
The community is made up of 80 townhomes, 50 lots, 50 single-bedroom apartments, with the kind of aesthetic logic that puts ivy on the 10-foot-high brick wall that surrounds the complex. Dash. Evoking old world with none of that hard-to-sell history, semicolon, beauty that draws you in without letting you pass the front gate. So the way it was kind of broken up, it feels like before and after the break, it's talking about the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of weird the way it kind of flowed.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I rewrote it is 50 lots, 50... Well, I'm jumping ahead. 50 lots, 50 single-bedroom apartments, comma, all with the kind of aesthetic of the ivy-covered 10-foot-high brick wall that surrounds a complex, which kind of connects it better, saying, like, it looks like that, and that's, like, why they're together.
Yeah.
Why they look the same. A style which invokes old world, with none of that hard-to-sell history, comma, a beauty that draws you in, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you caught it in your... do you have in your grammar inquisitions or grammar discrepancies?
Grammar-related discrepancies.
Yes. Do you have the past word?
Of?
So in that same like quote, you said like doesn't let you pass the gate. I think it says past as in time past, not as in let you past something.
Beauty that draws you in without letting you past the front gate. P-A-S-T.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be
P-A-S-S-E-D.
Yeah. Did you have that in the grammar revisions before?
No.
I saw it yesterday when I was rereading it on the website.
Yeah.
And I was like, one of the other guys will probably catch it. And if not, I will try and remember that. And then you mentioned the quote, and I was like, okay, I gotta remember that.
Well, good thing you didn't leave it 100% up to us.
Yeah.
Because we would have let that one slide.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of disappointed in you, Mikey.
I'm just looking up the definition for past.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, because I was also kind of confused, like, does that?
To or on the other the further side of.
For P-A-S-T?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
So it's actually...
Then what's P-A-S-S-E-D?
That's when you're passing. It's like
Yeah.
it's basically like the past
Like,
tense.
I
It is the
passed
past
it.
tense of passing.
Alright.
Yeah, that's why I said that, because I was like, oh, right, yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Did
So I didn't catch it because it's not an issue.
Yeah. No, but it feels like when you read that, like, it kind of, like, looks like it should be.
Yeah.
Unless you know... Yeah, that's interesting, though.
Unless, if you're not an idiot, then you wouldn't notice it, but we clearly are idiots.
Yeah,
so
we are not smart enough for the English language.
No.
And it's interwoven, complex, layers upon layers. Fuck the English language.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. And just think about putting P-A-S-S-E-D in that doesn't make any sense. Because without letting you past...
Get past. Does that work? If you go get past?
Yeah.
But it's not there.
But, yeah. But also, it works as it is, so...
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's just also, the English language is complex.
Mm-hmm. Unnecessarily so. Either way. Moving on to my second and only other one that I have a note on.
Okay.
The very next paragraph from the one I just talked about is, it's a way to clamp a pleasant lid down on the less savory aspects of the town. That's the first sentence of the next paragraph.
Yeah.
First thing I thought of was, it's not a town. It's just a gathering of homes, which is, as the story said, a community.
No, but the whole town, though, yeah.
I know, but the way... Right before that, it was describing specifically the gated community, and then it sounds like it calls it a town, which was weird. But again, after that I thought, unless it's trying to say that Cedarspring is trying to look pleasant to hide the dark aspects of Ichor Falls.
Which they do actually kind of bring up in the story, like... You wouldn't, it's like, oh yeah, even the old suburbs are like all like run down and stuff like that. But you wouldn't notice that over the gaudy new stuff that's been built.
Yeah.
Like, and that kind of is the point of the story, is that it's showing like that Ichor Falls has been basically like all the old like past riddled content of this town has part of it has been bulldozed to put this really contrasting like modern pseudo fake new buildings, basically. So.
Also, is it bad that I thought you said pasta riddled? Because it kind of is pasta riddled.
It is.
There's so many pastas
so many
here.
creepypastas.
Yeah. But either way, I wrote that note when I was reading it at that point.
Yeah.
Not with the future knowledge. But either way, in that case, in the case of it being Ichor Falls is bad and this looks nice, I feel 2 words should be added to the end to make it kind of seem better. So instead of
Ichor Falls. Sorry.
yeah, good. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah,
no.
sorry.
No, it'd be wait, what's the quote again? It's a way to clamp a pleasant lid down on the less savory aspects of the town. It's in. 2 little words, just no confusion whatsoever.
Although the same thing would apply for Ichor Falls, like the town, Ichor Falls.
Yes, you could also use your joke one. Yes, you're right, 100% right.
Yeah.
But either way,
Yeah.
do you have a thing?
I was just going to say that his is shorter. So
I mean, yeah, there's fewer letters, fewer syllables.
Yeah, that's true.
easier to read, rolls off the tongue.
It's in Ichor Falls. There's like one more syllable that it has to be.
Yeah, that's true. Because we're clearly trying to condense this down as much as we can. For reasons?
I apologize. I have disowned my family. I will perform Sudoku.
Alright. Numbers. Yeah. There you go. Just keep doing that while I continue. But either way, the whole clamp a lid down on a gated community does make it seem like the problem is inside the wall, and they're trying to cap it off from the outside. Just from the analogy of it alone, because here's a gate to keep like everything in there, and then it's nice looking to keep a lid on it. It seems like you're sealing it in, like the bad is inside. Unless you're trying to seal it in so the badness of outside can't get in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's probably what they were kind of going. That could be what they're going for, because they were trying to keep the bad taste of all the like the bloody history of Ichor Falls out of this like sparkling new fake structure or facility.
Yeah. But either way, all that shit aside, that entire quote should be the end of the previous paragraph.
Yeah.
Because it's talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
And then right after that sentence, it goes on to something else. So put that in the previous and go on from there.
Yeah. All right.
And that is the end of my grammar-related discrepancies.
Okay. So, action thoughts. All right, guys. So warning: deep thought dive here.
Uh-oh.
That this story kind of invoked in me while I was reading it.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with the quote. What?
Should we make this more noticeable, like warning, warning?
Warning, incoming deep thoughts. Warning, incoming deep thoughts.
Yep.
Red thoughts, white teeth. Red thoughts, white teeth. Like,
Yeah.
a small percentage of our audience will get that.
Right? I don't.
No, anyway, that's the quote. That's my thought.
Oh.
It's half the page.
And quote begin.
You can't honor a memory by trying to hide it, ignore it, or repel it. Cedarspring, with its impersonal McMansion townhomes, its stuccoed, faux-finished walls, pleasantly distressed murals, and its Americana-cute street names, is Ichor Falls by way of Disneyland. So, I feel like this story is, on top of showing the existential horror of isolation through a gated community, it also has this distaste for fake luxury properties and development, or like modern development, and comments on that through the sort of disturbed presence or power angle, like disturbed power because like they don't do deep kind of thing, or they bulldozed away the coverings of this tomb or something like that. The developers just carelessly pave over a place with a very bloody past or a very deep-seated past, with no regret or regard for it, just so some money can be made off of the upper class in an otherwise low to middle class area. Honestly, with society as it is and how it was back when this was written, I personally think this resonates to a degree.
It's like building on an Indian barrel ground
Exactly,
situation.
yeah. Or, like, because for me, like, I always feel a sense of loss when I see this kind of mass development over either formerly used historic land or, like, when forests are clear-cut. when people where people used to hike through those forests, and they're just cleared out to make room for like development and stuff like that.
Like old drive-ins that are like wrecked to put up like a townhouse or something.
Yeah, or a lakefront property where there are old cottages, or like where older like a town like one of the towns nearby has a hotel called the Lakeview Hotel, and there's a big ass gaudy condo right where it's Lakeview used to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That
it's actually a big issue with that that town is that there's a ton of property on the lakeside where there used to be like old historic buildings, or mind you, some of them are decrepit and were gentrified, but they've been bulldozed. Like the properties have just been bulldozed out to make way for condos. You were going to say something, Mikey?
Yes, I know the hotel or motel that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And technically, it gets its name from the street.
Oh, is it called Lakeview?
Yes.
Well, yeah, but it's still like
yeah.
But the problem is Lakeview's like street name doesn't have any merit anymore because
it's probably called that because it had a Great Lakeview at one point.
It did.
Yeah.
Or like, so yeah, like it's just like and it's like I know it's modern. It's the modern ethos, like to build and expand and like to build higher and to build outward. But I always feel a sense of sadness when I see development like that, when I see farmland that is just bulldozed down to make room for suburbs. Like, that was farmland we could have used for food. Like, or like, those forests were like, people hiked in those forests. Like, there was trails in those forests that people would go to and stuff like that. And now they've been bulldozed down and they're made private property.
The only way for us to not expand is we're going to have to do something like everybody get in the pile situation from South Park.
No.
Everyone has to stop procreating.
And again, I get that. Like, I get that ethos of like why we have to do that. I just always, I never not feel a sense of like sadness for that. Like, or a sense of loss.
Yeah.
Whenever I see that kind of thing. And this story kind of like invoked that in me, like with the, with the commentary. It was seeming commentary. I know, I kind of saw it as commentary on like McMansions and like the stuffy upper crust people.
I don't even know what McMansion referred to.
McMansion is basically fake mini mansions that upper class or like higher middle class people buy out in the middle of the woods, or like out in like gated communities to make themselves feel like they live in mansions. That they're called McMansions because they're supposed to be like fake mansions, like fake cheap mansions.
Wouldn't they be like fansions?
Like technically
or something.
It's
when they referred to McMansion, I immediately thought of McDonald's.
yeah. Well, that's also that's also kind of where that comes from too, because it's like fast, like basically pumped out mansion or pumped out like mansion style buildings for the better off, basically. But yeah, so that was like the first thing that I kind of took note of with that quote and that part of the story, and then we go into my next note. This is going to sound really odd, but it's your home. This stuff matters. No one wants to feel like an intruder in their own home. The whole time I lived there, it's like there was an impersonal feel to every part of the house. That's not a surprise. I've lived in that kind of house before, and it's all a little cookie cutter. It's supposed to be this getaway, but this was like, you know that feeling you have waiting in the dentist waiting room to be called? The buzz of the fluorescent lights, the cold and the antiseptic smell? It's anxiety, it's isolation. Like you're separate from the rest of the world. Cedarspring magnified that feeling 10,000 times. I really like this idea that there's a power in Ichor Falls that can just amplify negative aspects of a place. Like, again, like there's some kind of like force in Ichor Falls that like magnifies that the negative aspects of this, or like even if you want to kind of say like maybe that's what the same power did the thing like when we did the story 20 Minutes in the Dark. That's what amplified her fear to the point where she was just like trapped there, because she was overthinking everything.
Or it's like the spirits of all the homes that all these homes have been built on.
Yeah, like the
are pissed that these homes are here. So like, let's just make all of this really bad so they move out and then they demolish this so we can have this area back. Yeah, it's like the spirit of a place, not maybe a person or like the spirit of Ichor Falls itself, not a individual person or creature.
is forcing this presence upon people.
I mean, it could even be an individual creature, because, like, if they ripped down, like, 5 homes that were all haunted, those ghosts don't have a haunt spot anymore.
Yeah.
They're built on top of.
Yeah. It could be, though, I definitely, like, because it's a kind of a newer concept, I like the idea of the spirit of a place, not of an individual. And not saying that's a bad thing. Like, if it was, I just like the idea of, like, again, like spirit, elemental spirits, basically, or like, but modern elemental spirits, or like more urban elemental spirits. Yeah, and like the place is like was built to be this like faux rustic facade and like isolated community, and then the town itself just kind of like made it this alien thing to people that live there or that try to live there. Like they just kind of feel this like they don't feel familiar at all to the place they're supposed to be living.
They might as well be on Mars.
Yeah, like or like like it amplifies the aspect of this of being like a facade, so that you feel that present that you feel that to your core, that alien like this is not real kind of like vibe from the actual town or the actual building. And then my next quote that I have here is. I don't want to get melodramatic about it, but I've thought about it a lot since then. Some people think hell as some burning pit of torment, but I don't think it is. I read once that the real hell is the absence of God. Ichor Falls has a reputation of being a haunted town. And when I lived there, I saw my share of things out of the corner of my eye. But I never saw them at Cedar Fall. Somehow that became... But I never saw them at Cedar Spring. Somehow that became the opposite of comforting. Ghosts haunt old buildings, old places. Is it possible for a place without a past to be haunted by its own lack of history, by bleakness? Can a place be haunted by absence? Gods, I love that last line. It just, for me, it invokes a really cool, creepy, cosmic horror, like, kind of statement. Like, a place to be haunted by a lack of anything, like basically by nothing. But that nothing actually has some kind of substance in this place.
It's a nothing something.
The nothing is so intense, it becomes
a something.
It's like antimatter. It basically becomes like it's almost like they're ghosts of anti-existence.
Yeah.
They're anti-ghosts. It's haunted by anti-ghosts.
Yeah.
That was my last of my actual thoughts. It's just like, as I read the story, I got more and more excited about like kind of the weird like higher concepts of the story that at least I was kind of seeing in the story. But I'm not sure if that's just me or not. But it seemed like when I looked over the comments, seemed like there were other people that had similar inklings or like similar like kind of opinion to it, but
I mean, one of my notes is literally just the ending's awesome.
Really?
Because I was going to say the same sort of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mikey, these stands for you.
All right. Well,
I'm going to rip out everything you just said.
Nope. Everything you said is wrong. Everything I'm about to say is correct. If you have a brain.
Wow.
Your ventriloquism needs some work.
Yeah, sorry.
But go on.
Alright, so first thing is that I personally would have liked it to be a little bit longer.
Okay.
And there's a very, very simple way another interviewer or interviewee.
Yeah.
And it's basically interviewing either a gardener, caretaker, trash service, or security guard from...
The problem with that, legal standpoint, they would not be able to disclose... They would have to be anonymous.
Yeah.
But even then, like, even if the documentarist said, like, oh, like, this unnamed gardener or, like, this maybe unnamed employee of, like, or something like that, maybe they could go with that. Because if if the story states that, like, it's a gardener or... Like, that's company confidentiality. Like this group is pretty corporate. They're going to fire that guy for saying anything bad about their project.
But oh, sorry, are you done? But the first one was a freaking architect that worked on building the place.
Yeah, but his job is done. He was a freelancer. He was just an architect to it.
Oh, yes.
And he was like, but if you notice, like they said, like he was also the only person that would take his calls. Meaning, like he probably did try to call like a bunch of those like employees,
and they've all been killed,
or they've all been told not to say anything about things, or risk losing their job. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm sure, like if the story hadn't been done as a documentary like transcript, I would have liked a story where like the guy is actually just going out and investigating and like talking to people, and like this has to go off the rate. Like basically, this doesn't show up in a like official in official channels like through like a documentary or anything like that. But this is we get like the content through some other way, like out of.
It still could be in the documentary because it gives you the opportunity to do that scene in a documentary where like. The guy you're interviewing is completely in shadow, and he's like he has a filter over his voice.
No, that's what I said. But the problem is like we would never be able to know like what occupation he was in there because
you could just say I'm a gardener there. I was a gardener there.
No, you can't.
You'd say
I was an employee.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, you can maybe get away with it if he was a former like employee. Like maybe they fired him. Or maybe he quit because he didn't like. Because again, like it seems like even like when you're not living there, you feel this like oppressive like isolation and like basically this alienness to it. So maybe it was a former gardener or something like that. That you could get away with. But yeah, like if they were a current employee of the corporation that to go out there.
But if you're not disclosing who you are, what does it matter? Because
then if the company sees this like this is actual like legal shit that happens. If the company gets hold of this documentary, they're going to do a in company wide search for witch hunt basically for the person who who said something about about Cedar Spring. They're going to try and find the guy who anonymously said this thing and still worked there, or at least it's going to pose a threat toward all the other people that work there because the company's now keeping an eye on them.
Yeah, but if all the like gardeners are like really tight and they're like really brotherly, one of the guys would stand up and be like, "I'm the gardener," and then another one will stand up and be like, "I'm the gardener."
Cool, you're all fired. We'll get new. Cool, you're all fired. We'll get new gardeners.
Then simultaneously they're like, "Shit."
Yeah, basically, like in a perfect world, yeah, they won't get caught. But the world of Ichor Fall specifically, and like the real world, is not perfect. Yeah. And corporations do this shit all the time.
This is an evil corporation as well.
Yeah, you say something like crude on your Facebook and you get fired from your job. I'm not even joking.
Oh, I know.
Like, that's happened to people I know.
The only reason I'm laughing is because you constantly refer to this because of rehiring James Gunn.
Because of rehiring James Gunn.
That being said, they should rehire James Gunn.
Yes, of course. Disney, seriously, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Anyway, no.
We want Drax.
I legitimately meant that, like, for like other like companies and stuff. Like I think, yeah, like I've had like friends or like I've even had like family who have like said something crude on their Facebook or had a weird like just kind of like again like a weekend like prank thing or something like photo.
Yeah.
And they got fired the next week from their job because the company saw it. And it wasn't they didn't want them representing the company.
It's kind of a shame that essentially internet trolls can win because of that, because of legal reasons.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And
well, it's not just internet trolls, it's just like the companies are being too uptight. Like the companies don't want that kind of
though.
Well, they don't want that kind of representation.
That's what I'm saying. It's a legal obligation.
We're not just talking about James Gunn here. Like
oh, I know.
I'm talking about
anybody. Like, if they fire you because of something that they saw on Facebook, it's because they had to, probably. Because of legal reasons.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Like, that's why, like somebody who still works at Elysium Group, like, as one of these, like, low-end maintenance people, they would not be talking because they don't want to lose their job.
Yes. And I agree with you 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
Alright. And, I feel that we should, at the very least, talk about The Room. Because it's
I hate talking about that movie. It's not as good and funny as people say it is.
Okay, the joke aside, what was this room?
Well, you know the title of the story?
The
Excerpts from a Room at Cedarspring?
Yeah.
And the only mention to the room is about the guy having nightmares.
Yeah, about the main guy.
Well, I mean that's also like that's the title of the documentary. So it's like a room at Cedar Fall, a room at Cedar Springs. Like it's like a kind of like it's a title to represent the fact that like no one lives in Cedar Springs, but like you can like they want you to get a room at Cedar Springs, but no one wants to. So it's more like it is metaphorical.
I don't know.
But he does mention a room.
He does mention a single room, but it's not. But that's again, it's this. The title is an excerpts from a room at Cedar Springs, which a room at Cedar Springs is the documentary that's being the excerpt is from.
I think he was getting as the documentary
There is no
should
room.
be called. No, what I'm getting as he's probably saying the documentary shouldn't be called A Room at Cedar Springs. It should be called like Cedar Springs, the Ghost Town. Something more fitting, because it's not just about that one room. Because
I don't know, like
from the title alone, if you just read the title, you're going to assume that there's a place called Cedar Springs, and there is a room, be it an apartment room or a room in a house that is haunted.
and that's what they're talking about.
The entire place is haunted, not just
they
a
go into
room.
that, but like it's I don't know. I honestly think it's fine. Like it's like I understand like where you're coming from. Like you think it should be a bigger, like more broader stroke of Cedar Spring, not just a singular room, because that's kind of deceiving. I personally don't give a shit because the title seems fine for me. Like it makes sense because it's like for me, like again, my whole thing was like, oh, it's a room at Cedar Spring because like people like there are no people in the rooms of Cedar Springs, but they have like 50 rooms or 50 single bedrooms, 50 like townhouses.
Just because they say room once or twice in the story does not make it work.
All right, whatever. Like we're going to agree to disagree because like I agree. I understand where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from, but I don't subscribe to it. That's really what it comes
Okay, would you agree with me on this? If the story was a transcript of a guy that was locked in a room in Cedar Springs and all the crazy shit that happened to him throughout a week, but he finally got out and got this message out, would that make more sense?
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Moving on.
That would be more concrete.
Yeah.
But again, I'm fine with it the way it is because you can have things that are vague. You don't have to have specifics all the time.
But it makes you assume.
I don't care.
And
I like assuming. Assuming isn't always a bad thing.
But sometimes it is.
Oh, yes, but not all the time. Like
Sometimes it's okay, but sometimes it's like italics. It's just no.
exactly. Like it's a double-edged sword. Like it's the reason why we have the word assuming. Like, and it's not always a negative thing.
I don't like double-edged swords. I use katanas.
Of course. Moving on.
I'm a ninja after all.
Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, so I have a quote here. I started having nightmares at night. Not about death or monsters, but suddenly I'd be in this empty white space, this featureless room, devoid of all context, all emotion. When I read that, my mind went to Invader Zim. There's an episode where basically they're going through a portal type situation, and it can diverge into different dimensions, and one of them has a mist that looks very itchy, and then there's another one that just has a room with a moose.
Okay.
And it's a white room.
Okay.
Cool.
Good story, bro. All right. That's what that reminded you of?
Yes. And devoid of all context and emotions. Like, why is there
Okay, yeah, I will agree with that. Like, why is there a moose in a room?
Yeah.
Like,
I need context. So I know what
I feel
emotion.
hollow inside. I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's just some moose in the room. And it's like, actually, I'm a meese.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He stands up, starts beating the shit out of him. Here's your emotion. Fear. Pain.
Agony. Your hatred burns to the bowels deep.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And then, anyway, my next thing here is going on about the whole thing about there being nothing there and whatnot. Basically, my mind went to They clearly have no internet and no TV.
Yeah, well, it is 2009. It was a simpler time. Not too far off.
Was it that different back then?
Actually, no, sorry, 2008. It was when this.
Well, they'd have internet.
Yeah, they would have internet, but it wouldn't be.
They don't have internet. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
It's like no internet and no TV. Make Homer something.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do.
Wow.
We can reference cartoons too, Gamer in Yellow.
I suppose you could.
It's not all South Park in these parts.
So, really, that explains why nobody wants to live there.
There's no Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's understandable.
What's the guy's name? Paul? Paul needs Wi-Fi.
Oh, God. Referencing the super old frickin' Pootie playthrough that we found oddly hilarious at one time, many years ago, and then never watched it ever again, but continued referring to it.
Yeah, that was you guys, primarily.
Yeah, mainly.
Anyway.
Alright, yeah. So, there's more, but I'll save that for final thoughts.
Oh, that means my turn. So many cartoon references. Okay, so I was reading through it. Everything was going fine. And then when it got to the transcript situation, it's like, I spoke with Michael Hayes, a junior architect, and planner at Cedarspring, and one of the few people that can return my phone calls. And at this point, I'm like, oh, there's a character talking here? It seemed like it was a narrator the entire time.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the narrator is a character in this because this is an excerpt from a documentary. And they usually have a narrator, like a person.
Yeah. It's narrator literally.
Yeah, it's literally, there's a literal narrator.
It's like, but it's like,
I know, we're so used to,
it's like,
to not having, we're so used to having a non-narrator, like,
it's breaking his mind.
it is, jeez. But he's like folding out reality here. Jesus.
won't let me talk.
We're letting you. I was pausing to let you.
No, it's because the character is never named from the get-go. Like, in a documentary, it wouldn't be like, "Hi, I'm John Mooseman, and this is
my counter." This is an excerpt from the documentary.
Which is a transcript of it.
It actually does say his name. He does actually have a name. The filmmaker.
No, the filmmaker isn't necessarily
generally when it comes to documentaries.
Is it?
The filmmaker is the person that narrates it.
Really?
Yeah. I
thought that'd be like a director situation.
The documentarist, like the filmmaker of a documentary, for most, like especially for like smaller ones, like this is probably a small one. They are the director, they are the writer, they are the narrator, they are the Tommy Wiseau of the documentary.
Or the Michael Moore.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Moore is he's the filmmaker who created Bowling for Columbine and the 9/11 one.
Fahrenheit.
Problem being, the only person named is the documentary producer.
Hey,
the filmmaker.
The filmmaker.
Yeah, I wrote down producer.
Yeah, it's filmmaker.
But I wrote down producer.
That's nice.
You write down whatever you want. It's not right.
That's nice. It's wrong. His name is... Yeah. A Room at Cedarspring, 2008, is a locally produced documentary by West Virginia filmmaker Warren Todd.
It says Warren Jeffs here.
What?
It's Warren Jeffs.
It says Warren Todd here. In the book.
Yeah.
In the publication, it says Warren Todd.
You know what it says here? You know what it says here? Is a locally produced documentary.
By West Virginia filmmaker.
He is a filmmaker who produced this one.
But he also probably directed it.
Probably. I noticed you just said probably.
Listen, it's a goddamn documentary. Most of the time, it's the producer.
Most of the time, it's the producer every time.
Like, Michael Moore produced Bowling for Columbine and Fahrenheit 9/11.
That's nice. This isn't Bowling for Columbine.
He also narrated it and directed it and wrote it and
good for
him. Jesus.
This isn't that thing, though.
But it's a dog. It's all right. Fine. My uncle, who has done documentaries in the past, writes them, produces them, is mostly the camera guy, and also in later documentaries he did, narrated them. Because he decided
to do
to
a documentary called A Room at Cedar Spring?
No.
Well, then how do you know that?
I'm just giving you evidence that
I know.
Stop being so goddamn semantic!
I refuse.
Goddamn.
I'm semantic ninja. Anyways,
we're also just being really silly right now.
I mean, yeah, that's the idea.
Nth degree.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do here. Yeah, before I continue, actually, I forgot to go back to this. First thing I wrote down about this entire thing was talking about the title.
Yep.
Okay. So, right from the get-go, I didn't know... okay, this is technically just a grammar-related discrepancy, okay? Just sit up, it's fine. It's fine. Because the title is Excerpts from A Room at Cedar Spring.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
I'm actually fine.
You're just
acting.
zenning out?
I'm just acting right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not actually pissed or anything. I'm just doing something.
But here's the thing. It should be excerpts from, as I do in quotation, A Room at Cedar Spring.
I agree.
Great. Anyways.
No, you're absolutely right. That would make more sense.
Colon also work?
No.
No. Or brackets, maybe?
No.
Because excerpt from.
Because then technically it would be called A Room From.
Well, they did that with Hirsch camera, actually, because like the Hirsch camera, in brackets, 1870.
That's just putting a year on it.
That's true. Oh, for the camera anyway. But, yeah, no, I actually do completely agree, because that's generally what you do for the titles of a...
When you're referring to the title of a movie or a book, you quote.
It's a quote, yeah.
Cool.
So you really didn't like that they quoted it right at the first sentence?
Yeah, in the sentence they actually have a quote.
Yeah, but the title should have it.
Yeah, the title honestly should have had it too.
Yeah.
That's my only problem.
I'm sorry. I just gotta leave this comment here about our show. I love how we and people have commented on our show about this. I love how we just get into the most asinine aspects of a story and just go off the rails about it.
Yeah. To the point, we'll end up talking about, some random thing that has nothing to do with the show. What are we talking about again?
Yeah. We've actually had comments from one or two people, including an author of a story, and just that they love the show for how pedantic and how over the top we go on the smallest detail of their story.
Yeah. If you put a plural in the wrong place, we'll just fuck you up.
We'll just go we'll argue on Moss for 30 minutes about why the creature is in the vents when it's a pipe when it comes through the pipes.
Yeah. And then make an entire lore around that.
Yeah, exactly.
About two different creatures and an entirely different story, and then add them into the supernatural task force.
I really hope people listening know that we like to have fun here. As as much as we might sound like we hate each other and attack each other and some of that, it's all in good fun.
Yes. Indeed.
But, anyway. Sorry.
No, that's cool.
You have the floor, sir.
Cool, alright. But yeah, I'm just going over the ones that we've already talked about. So, two things here. First one, because I didn't write it down, I should probably mention it. How long are documentaries generally?
You're asking, they can range between 20 to 30 minutes to 4 hours.
Yep.
All right. Well, if this is a one-to-one transcript,
it is not.
It is not.
It is an excerpt.
It says excerpts. That is taking a caption, an excerpt out of.
I guess.
So they left out the part with the employee.
Yeah.
Oh, all the parts that we're complaining about is in the rest.
All the parts that you want to see. You want more. You're Ariel from Little Mermaid. I must have more. Wait, was that? That's either Ariel or that's Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Either way, you're a Disney princess.
I know what the title art's going to be now. Look at what you've done.
That's what it was for Halloween.
You're welcome.
It's just gonna be Mikey, a really disapproving looking.
He just gives me the evil eye. As he looks over. to blame here? Me or him or you now? I don't know. It's kind of all of our fault when you think about it.
I kind of want to post on Twitter right now and just like, what for Disney Princess would you think? Do you think Mikey the Eastern's Free Will should be?
Do it.
Ariel or Belle?
No, just any. You can be anyone he wants.
Yeah.
Free range.
Oh man.
I'm sorry and also not sorry whatsoever. Okay, but moving on.
Yes.
So I enjoyed the semi-documentary style of writing because it didn't feel 100% documentary to me because the first half of it was just kind of a standard sort of creepypasta style, where it's just talking about the story and what happened, and then all of a sudden it switches gears into documentary town.
Well, the thing is, like, it is all documentary because when I read it, it seemed like like the parts that aren't dialogue are the guy's thesis, which is usually what the person in the documentary narrates, is that their essay or their thesis about why they're filming this documentary.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing. All the things that are said, there's nothing in it that makes it seem like it's from a video. Where he's not at a place referencing something and that's described in the text and then his words are told to us. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. The problem is, like, the story doesn't have the descriptors of what's being shot.
I'm saying is I would like it if it did.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, the thing about documentaries are they are offensively, no. They are effectively video essays. They are basically the essay is written first and then they go into, and then they shoot the film and or they go and get the material they need. Mm-hmm. So that's how they were kind of built together. Like that's why most documentaries will have panning shots or video footage behind the audio, which is basically just narrating an essay that the guy wrote.
Yeah.
To help add credence to the words he's saying. So yeah, right now the problem with the story is that you're not visualizing the video portion of the documentary while you're reading the story. Yeah.
I'm just seeing it as a creepypasta, just like the other ones.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, it just didn't, it didn't give the right feel to me.
Even though it does say at the beginning that it's an excerpt from a documentary.
It can say whatever it wants. If it doesn't feel like it isn't.
That's fair. I will, I disagreed with your guys' opinion on the title. I will concede that you disagree with my opinion on the story being documentary style.
You can say that cat is a dog all you want, but unless I hear him bark, I'm not going to believe you.
Okay, that's odd, but fine.
Yeah. But essentially, at some point it kind of expected it to be like, hi, I'm Narrator Man, and here's the beautiful community of Cedar Falls.
That part was, yeah.
Well, shit, I wrote down Cedar Falls. Cedar Spring. I wrote it down. Cedar Spring.
That's awesome.
Nestled in the dark, haunted past of Ichor Falls, etc.
Yeah, no.
He says etc.
Yeah, well, the thing is, again, this is kind of it's from the whole excerpt aspect of it. That part is removed out of the story because that would probably just be, hi, I'm Todd. I'm here to talk about...
I want that.
I get you.
It kind of seems like they took the documentary and took out,
You just want the entire documentary.
Yes! Yes, I do.
Well, listen, man. the author did not want to write an entire multi-page documentary.
But wouldn't it be neat?
It would be. I agree with you. But the author didn't want to write that. He didn't think that was complete. That wasn't what was interesting to him. What was interesting to him was the part in the middle that he took the excerpt from that gives us the whole high concept that the place is haunted by the absence of its own history.
It's not even just in the middle though, because he took.
It seems like he
took he took the intro bit, or at least part of the intro bit.
Yeah,
it's like he just kind of grabbed random parts and put it together. It
does kind of feel 100%. I will concede to that because it does kind of feel like. When you're reading through it, it feels like it's halfway through through the middle section of this documentary, and then it kind of ends the way I feel the documentary should end. Is is it possible that something is haunted by absence?
That is an awesome ending.
That's a great ending, zinger for a documentary and a creepypasta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I agree and don't disagree with you. I'm sorry.
We're going to have to agree to possibly disagree. Kind of, not really, but sort of.
Yeah. But yeah, like I do agree with you. It should, like, I would love to see a full transcript of this documentary. We're not gonna get it unless Kris Straub or some fan of Ichor Falls ends up writing the full transcript, including this.
No, you know what I really want to see then? If you're going to go that far, just do the documentary.
Just go to some hobunk town in West Virginia.
Yep.
Or like maybe Pennsylvania, because they're kind of the same geography.
Ichor Falls.
Yeah.
It's a place.
It's 120 miles off, north southwest of Charlottesville.
Sure, there's probably a gated community there somewhere, right?
Sorry, yeah, Ichor Falls. It's 150 miles south of Charlotte, North Carolina. So yeah, we just gotta go north of we just gotta go south from Charlotte, North Carolina, and we'll find Ichor Falls.
Indeed, yes. We'll just go shoot it ourselves.
All right, let's go.
All right, talk to you guys later.
See you on the next.
See you on the trip.
Sleep well. And we're back.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
I do not want to go to Ichor Falls ever again.
No.
We're not doing that.
You know, I have a feel like I don't know how our documentary's going to do because we like noped most of the videos. Like we noped whenever anything got interesting, we just noped out because we're logical human beings and a Starfield.
Starfield as well. Yes.
So yeah.
And also, all my footage isn't there.
What?
It's just gone. It's not on. Nothing actually got recorded.
Did you leave the cap on?
No.
So really, you didn't catch anything? Damn it! You
You
didn't catch the Silver King chasing us at slow-mo style?
No.
Damn it!
I thought I did. Like, I got down with that really dramatic shot, even though I was about to die.
Also,
but
man, like,
nothing was recording, even though the red light was blinking and it had the tape in it.
Again, I'm kind of glad we did leave because, like, man, Cedar Springs was getting me like some really bad vibes. Like, ugh.
That was a recording device you had? I thought it was a lunchbox. I'm sorry. I ate the tape.
Damn it, Mikey. The E does not stand for eating.
It does in this case.
Anyway, let's just continue on.
It doesn't stand for eating. It stands for empty stomach.
All right. Well, that was a complete trip ruined. Let's just continue with your actual thoughts for this story.
What story was it? That was months ago.
It was months ago. What was this? Ichor Falls excerpt from A Room at Cedar Springs.
No, Cedar Fall, wasn't it?
Right, yes, Cedar Falls. Yeah. No, that's what they renamed it, remember?
No, I don't remember.
No? You don't remember?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
Anyway, continue.
Wait, that's actually the end of my notes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, on to final thoughts then. So, rereading the story, because I read it like 3 times this week.
Really?
Yeah, I've come to really enjoy this story for its higher concept, like ghost of a place, lack of history, like the anti-ghost idea that it kind of presents.
They're called SOGs. SOGs. Matthias Silent.
Matthias Silent.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll just write that down for the SNTF again.
No, you're welcome.
No, the whole like kind of commentary that at least I saw of like the new development ripping down the old and invoking like outer horror or amplifying the fear of isolation and alienation because of, or like basically amplifying those like those kind of like human feelings toward like a new like tacky facade of a building. And at least the way I took it, like it seemed like a social commentary, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Call me artsy fartsy for that, because it is. I'm not going to lie. It does. When I said that, when I was writing that stuff down, when I was like thinking that stuff, I felt really like, what's the word for like a really artsy like kind of thing? Not prestigious, fine arts major kind of thing, like really.
I want to say pompous.
Snobbish.
Snob.
I felt kind of like an art snob or like a literary snob when thinking about this, because like it is kind of, but at the same time, like the story to me anyways did invoke that kind of my own personal, like, kind of, I guess it's a tragic fear. It's a fear of loss, like for something like nostalgic, which is kind of what the story kind of invoked in me. Because, like, again, I get that feeling whenever I see a condo getting put up on a lakeside. It's like, well, that could have been used for cottages, quaint cottages and stuff like that.
It's a more real fear that people can actually have compared to, like, a monster chasing you through the woods and stuff, you know?
Yeah, and yet like, the monster in this is indescribable. Holy shit. This is the indescribable, like, Lovecraftian horror monster of Ichor Falls, because it doesn't have a body. It doesn't have a physical form. It just affects the people that live there.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not it's an intelligence of some kind that's doing it, or it's just the place's, like, aura of bleakness, or its aura of negativity that, like, the town's bloody history has created this aura of negativity that amplifies all negative aspects of any kind of aspect of life. Like, I really enjoy that cosmic horror element of it.
You know what I'm thinking? That 20 Minutes in the Dark situation, she was living in Cedar Springs.
Holy shit!
She was, like, super depressed and, like, freaking out all the time.
Yeah, that's why she didn't do anything. Cause she was like,
yeah.
Or, like, maybe she was nearby, or, like, or again, like, maybe that building was one of the Elysium groups, like, built, like college dorms kind of thing, or, like, or residential areas.
But you've seen all the creepy shit, and there's no creepy shit to see there. That's the thing.
Yeah, but remember, some of the part of the town, like, not just Cedar Spring, but, like, parts of the town have been bulldozed down, and, like, new developments have been built on. Mm-hmm. So, like, I wonder if, like, maybe, like, that part of her, like, where she's living, like, basically the college residential area, like, basically, like, the suburbs. Maybe it's in the suburbs kind of area.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like, that whole kind of, like, cosmic horror element to it, where, like, there's just this uncaring, like, apathetic force that we can't comprehend or, like, stop, is just permeates existence in this location. I really dug that. And
well, you dig it. You still dig it, right?
Oh yeah. And despite even despite some of the minor layout issues I had with the story, the way it's written I enjoyed too. Like the whole like transcript of a documentary. I will concede I would love to see a full transcript of the documentary. But for me, like, if this is all we're gonna get, this is enough, regardless. Personally.
Well, how about even just going, like, you do the intro and then go, like, 20 minutes later, this is said.
Yeah, you can do that too. Like,
so you can kind of
that,
but essentially skimming through the documentary.
Yeah. Rewind, fast forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, end of the day, recommended. And dare I say, this is probably one of my favorite Ichor Fall stories to date. Maybe might be the favorite so far. So, Mikey, these 10's for you.
Alright. So, I spent some time trying to figure out what the nothing is.
Okay.
And one of the first things that came to mind was that during the whole bulldozing and whatnot, they disturbed an ancient alien burial ground.
Okay.
Yeah. My other thought in regards to ghosts, that it might just be a Space Ghost retirement home. Nobody likes him for whatever reason in his retirement, so he emits a weird aura.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, like, previously, before he retired from his talk show, that was broadcasted coast to coast, of course. He killed his co-hosts, so he had no friends at all.
Yeah.
Because, like, Brack and Zorak, they just kind of... They pushed the line too many times, and he zapped them one too many times, and they're just completely dematerialized. Mm-hmm. And then he lost his sand roll the first time he did it, and he just went around zapping everyone.
Mm-hmm. Oh god, I can't stop.
Yeah, exactly. And then at that point, the producer's like, you know what? I think you should retire now. And then he got zapped. Yeah, but he did take the idea of retiring at that point.
Mm-hmm. You're right, Zap. As he leaves the door.
Alright. And then the other way that I went was bringing this into the Supernatural Task Force. So,
enlighten us!
I wonder if it's going to be the way that I thought it would be.
The way I envisioned it was the Supernatural Task Force developed a ghost repellent technology.
In the form of a wall?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, an invisible thing that has a radius of 30 miles.
It does say within, like no one wants to buy the place, or wants to buy a room there for like 30 miles.
But I believe you. You do not need to look it up to spite me.
I have it here.
I figured you have it.
Yeah.
I believe you. I'm just saying, like, is the area 30 miles wide? Like, I don't understand.
That's just a reference to the story,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
no one even wants to be near it.
Yeah, no one actually lives in what was supposed to be the hottest upscale new property in a 30-mile radius.
Well, it's... No. You're wrong. I hate you. It's... it's saying that no one wants to live there being, like, that place being the nicest place in a 30-mile radius. People live in there, but no one lives specifically in the nicest place in a 30-mile radius, it being Cedarspring.
It is the nicest place for miles. Like
for 30 miles, specifically.
Yeah, for 30 miles.
30 miles away, there's a way better place.
Yeah, there's like, there's a nice, like, another gay community called, like, I don't know, like,
Cedar Falls.
Elder Bluffs. Or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Alright, so it's not as strong as I was initially thinking.
Yeah.
Did you also read it that way as well?
No. I did not.
Oh.
I
You
saw,
thought it was...
I thought it was the...
There's an anti-comfortableness
sorry. Okay,
for 30 miles?
Yes, I did. I went with your thing where it's the nicest place in 30 miles. Like,
cool.
Not, there's an anti-ghost barrier for 30 miles. No, because that makes no sense. Because how does Ichor Fall exist?
Yes.
Yeah.
If there's an anti-magic field or anti-supernatural field there.
So, anyway, so it's just affecting this spot. So in the middle of the community, there's this...
There's just this, like, like, the antenna on the rooftop is actually also an emitter of this field. And it's just because all the people are so close to the like, basically, like, the first waves, or the highest intensity of the frequency. That's why they start getting really, like, empty and, like, hollow emotionally.
Yeah. Because there's ghosts inside you.
Oh, and also because the way it repels ghosts are manifestations of, like, powerful emotions and stuff like that. That's why they, like, can't, like, move on. So it's basically just nullifying all emotion. And that's why people feel so hollow when they live there, because basically they are being sapped of all their emotion, of the emotions of just, like, they themselves, even though they're alive, they want to move on.
Yeah.
So that's how it, like, damn, we are building some deep lore here.
Yeah, totally. And the way that I thought of it, though, is not the beacon in the middle that creates an aura, it's the gate wall itself is the emitter.
Oh, so it's like a Faraday cage.
Yeah. Indeed. Just like that.
Do you actually know what a Faraday cage is?
You've referenced it multiple times.
Okay, cool.
It's an anti-ghost situation, right?
It's actually an anti-electric EMF, or an anti-signal field, basically. Like, not just, like, ghosts and stuff like that, but, like, in real life, a Faraday cage, if you go in there, you can't get any cell reception, and no signals or electrical magnetic fields can penetrate it.
Okay. So yeah, one of them. Just open air situation.
Yeah. So anyway, continuing on. So the groundskeepers and all of them are members of the Supernatural Task Force.
Of course.
Because they have to maintain this device.
My question: are they spies infiltrating the Elysium group, or is the Elysium group is an antagonizing force to the SNTF?
Of course,
or is the Elysium group a front for the SNTF? I don't know. They seem really, like, kind of unethical in terms of, like, what they do when it comes to, like, supernatural stuff. So
that's true.
I don't know if they should be even like a subsidiary of the SNTF.
Yeah, that's true. Even us putting the SNTF's branding on Cedar Springs with the anti-emotion field situation, they plowed down a whole bunch of, like, historical buildings.
They made a bunch of ghosts hauntless.
Yeah, they did.
Or hauntless, sorry. Hauntless.
Okay. So, the corporation did the bad stuff, but the employees, so the groundskeepers and whatnot, are... basically saving the situation because the field, the anti-ghost field, is actually holding back an ancient ghost alien.
Something they demolished would have broken the seal, so they needed to come in and put up their radius locking mechanism to protect the world for the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Cultus.
No, I can't say anything until we do Shining One in the sky.
Okay.
I literally cannot say anything more.
Okay. Don't need to read that anymore.
No, you do.
I know.
It's really good.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure it is.
It blows the doors open as to what the fuck's going on in Ichor Falls.
I want to know. Is it next?
No.
How many more we got?
I think we got 2 more.
Okay, that's fine. But yes. Also yes. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the corporation may be evil, but the employees are actually have the secret agenda of the Supernatural Task Force.
Yes.
Yes.
So. And they're defending the world.
Yes.
Technically. Mm-hmm. Or at least all of Ichor
We
Falls.
are the SNTF.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
No, it doesn't. Not as good as we are the men in plaid. Men in plaid. Forestry defenders. Remember that episode? Remember that recording?
A long time ago.
It was.
Yeah.
Search and Rescue Woods.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Anyway, sorry.
So yeah, what are we talking about?
Alright, yeah, so...
Your final thoughts.
That was just my silliness of what the nothing could be.
Yeah.
But taking that away, because that's just silly and fun.
And actual canon now.
Yes.
Well, head canon.
No. It's real canon. Cannons don't make a sound. They make a sound.
So, I didn't actually like this one.
You're open to your opinion.
Yeah.
It's wrong, but...
no, because, like, again, like, you can like different things. So, like, how I completely disagree with your content, your opinion when it came to the latest Reloaded episode I edited.
Mm-hmm.
True.
I respect your opinion.
But I'll substitute my own instead.
No, I disagree with it, but I do respect it.
There's more going on than just the absence of something. In my mind, anyway.
Okay.
Elaborate.
Well, that's why I came up with
the different
trying
things.
to figure out what that nothing was, or the absence was. And I mean, no internet, no TV. I mean, that clearly...
That's why they all went nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only reason. Because of the Faraday cage situation, no internet and TV.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why they don't, like, even though it's like, it's like 2018, guys, like, why don't we have Wi-Fi? It's like, reason, it's supposed to be rustic. Not that there's a Faraday cage around the entire system.
Yeah, see? It makes sense.
Yeah. Or they might play it off as the no radio signal towns.
Are there actually places like that?
Yeah.
Huh.
There are.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah, because, like, there's some... Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's basically because they have those huge dishes that point into space.
Yeah.
They don't want any interference, and a simple microwave can interfere with that technology.
That shook.
Wow.
At that point, just don't have a town there.
But Hot Pockets.
Yeah.
How do you pocket the hot?
You don't.
Oh.
You eat it frozen. And it.
Well, you'd have an oven.
Yeah.
You'd have to wait for it.
Yeah.
Roast it over a campfire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
They're actually just Viking halls with, like, a giant bonfire in the middle.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
Specifically for Hot Pockets.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm only giving this a half recommendation.
Okay. Gamer Yell?
I like when you say you're okay, you're like, okay.
Oh, no, like, I don't want to... I don't, like,
I know.
I'm trying not to, like, impose my own will upon someone else. I agree, like,
Well, we're not going to tell you whether or not
exactly.
you like
it. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Again, I've been trying to, like, stop myself from, like, It's like, but it's so cool. It's like, no, that's your point.
Well, and part of the issue is that nothing really happens. Boom, boom, psh.
He's allowed his own opinion.
Yes, he is. But he will die tonight.
Shink.
But he's like made of just starfield.
It's okay. This knife was blessed by the 1,000 cosmic angels.
I'm sure it has.
No. Anyway, go on, Gabriel.
Oh, right.
What's your opinion? Is it wrong or right? I'm kidding.
Neither. I am refraining from giving an opinion. So you'll never know.
Alright, cool.
No, I liked it. It's not to the point of it being my favorite, because I believe last time?
Last time
The Stillwood King was my favorite. So far.
I kind of actually, I was reading this one, I was like, yeah, I think aside from Lemon Blossom Girl, I think this is probably really high up there on one of my favorites, just because of the high concepts and stuff. Which I found funny because last week, maybe because I had you were saying how you had a favorite, so I started thinking about which
what
one
is your favorite, yeah.
And this one kind of stood out.
Do you have a favorite, Mikey? I believe I asked this last week as well, but I don't believe you mentioned anything. And you said you were going to deliberate on it and tell me next week. You probably didn't say that. I'm just saying that to put you on the spot right now.
My answer is still deliberating.
Cool. There's a story next week called Deliberating that he just knows already.
Yeah, clearly.
But yeah, it was good. I liked the I don't know if I should call it a twist at the end. Is it a twist?
It's a zinger.
Or just a revelation?
It's a zinger.
Zinger.
Well, yeah, revelation would be good too.
It was what a revelation situation.
It lays down this statement, and it's just that is awesome.
Indeed,
that makes sense.
It was pretty neat. That being said, I didn't 100% get the documentary feel. It is a creepypasta, so I shouldn't be docking it points for feeling like a creepypasta.
I mean, technically, Ichor Fall stories. So here's the funny thing about Ichor Falls and Kris Straub. He didn't initially write these as creepypastas. They sort of just became. They are adopted creepypastas. They were adopted by the community back in the day.
Where were they?
And they were They definitely heavily inspired aspects of certain creepypastas.
What were they originally written as then?
They were just written as short, creepy stories that the guy wanted to post on his blog.
Which sounds a lot like creepypasta.
It does, but these stories technically came out before creepypasta got coined.
Oh.
So, these are kind of proto-creepypastas in that the guy didn't intend for them to be that way, but they ended up becoming.
How old is the term creepypasta?
Only, since 2010, 2009, honestly.
Ah. I was not aware.
Candle Cove, which is the one that, really sparked everybody's imagination back in the day. It was never intended to be a creepypasta, but everyone calls it a creepypasta. But it's kind of like the proto-creepypasta. Or it is a proto-creepypasta. Kind of like how urban legends are kind of are kind of like an ancestor of what creepypasta end up becoming. Or short horror fiction from authors are as well. It's part of that tree of literature that has become creepypasta and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. But either way,
yes.
For my opinion, I liked it. I'll recommend it. There was that early on paragraph that bugged me enough that I had to rewrite the whole thing and put the start of the next paragraph into that one because it made it flow better. And that kind of pulled me out of the mood, and I didn't get the proper visualization going through it, partially because it's an excerpt and not a full
documentary.
And not a full transcript of the entire documentary. But overall, I did like it, and I will recommend it.
Okay. So that was this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below, wherever this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can check us out on Twitter. Mikey is at the E Stands for Evil. Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without the W, because Twitter hates him. I'm at Review Cultist.
You throw me for a loop when you mix that up.
You can check out you can check us out on iTunes and leave us a rating and review, or any other streaming site that we're on that has that method of reviewing and ratings. You can also send us emails. Go to aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. You can also check out the title cards for each episode at crazonstudios.tumblr.com, crazon.deviantart.com, or on our YouTube channel, Al Dente Rigamortis, where you can check out the videos of each episode. If you'd like to help support the show, you can go to Patreon, look up Al Dente Rigamortis, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We currently have $2 and $5 tiers, but any little bit helps. Honestly, donations help support the show with hosting. And we have several at the $2 and $5 tier. We have special content. We have early access at the $5 tier. We have special episodes for the $2 tier, such as Al Dente Real Talk, where we talk about video and film media that either has some inklings of creepypasta, or at least in the themes and motifs that we have discerned, or we have this horror movie kind of has similarities to horror or to horror themes and creepypastas that we've done, or they are straight up adaptations of creepypastas. Like, I'm sure at some point we're going to do the Slender Man movie from Sony,
or it has nothing to do with creepypasta, but it's just horrifying to look at, like a certain cartoon.
Well, that was actually based off of creepypasta, like that actual.
Oh right, yeah.
That was actually from Emma's Paint Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, you can check those out. We also do actual play Rigor Mortis, where we play tabletop RPG games, generally in creepypasta-esque horror scenarios. And we're going to be doing one hopefully soon about the SNTF, or the Supernatural Task Force.
Yep.
Something my two co-hosts have been kind of brainstorming and like throwing me into the world building aspect of it.
Where 90% of the creepypasta monsters are actually our friends.
Sorry, I just always gets me when you say that.
Yeah.
And speaking of my other co-hosts, they have their own shows they've been doing on the Patreon without me. I've merely been the editor, much to my chagrin sometimes. That include...
It's more like all the times. But, yeah, Al Dente Reloaded at the $5 tier, where Mikey and I go back to the good, the bad, and the ugly pastas that the cultist and the doctor did back in the past, and read them and see what our thoughts are on them. And then Al Dente Revelations at the $2 tier, where Mikey and I continue those thoughts from Reloaded. And Al Dente Revelations at the $2 tier, where Mikey and I continue those thoughts by listening to the episodes that the cultist and the doctor did, and see what they say about it, and possibly have a mind-breaking revelation while doing so.
Cool. And to our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you immensely. Again, you are helping keep the hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And for the listeners and authors of the stories that we've been doing on the show, thank you immensely. For the listeners, thank you for continuing to listen. Honestly, it helps keep us going on the show. And for the authors of the stories, thank you for providing us with stories for the last 4+ years, and for my entertainment.
Specifically yours. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I'm saying you said that we don't enjoy it.
I meant more like, because like...
Leave that silence in, by the way.
I mean, like, because I do read these stories not just for the show, whereas you guys kind of do.
Kind of, yeah.
But again, like, honestly, thank you for writing, for creating these stories. They are entertaining in all forms. So, until next time, I've been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Ichor Fall 2018. Sleep well.